Hello, extraordinary ministers of Holy Communion. It's me, Father Scott, your pastor. I hope you're doing well. I want to thank you for the ministry that you provide here at St. Joseph, helping your fellow parishioners to encounter Jesus through the Eucharist, and helping us to distribute Holy Communion at Masses. I wanted to let you know about a change that is coming up that will begin on the weekend of August 10th and 11th. Now, for those of you who have been parishioners here for a long time, you know that before COVID, our EMHCs would wear an alb when they distributed communion. And there are a couple reasons for that. One is that the alb reminds us of our baptism. And so our baptism calls us to serve. And so we wear an alb when we are called to make service in a particular way, especially liturgically. And so you'll see that priests and deacons, they wear albs underneath their vestments. And so it's been a practice here at St. Joseph to hearken to that baptismal call by wearing an alb when distributing Holy Communion. Also, sometimes our Eucharistic ministers will come to Mass not knowing that they are going to have to fill in to help distribute communion. So maybe they're not dressed exactly as they would want to be standing in front of everybody and distributing Holy Communion. And so what the Albs do is they just help us not worry about those things, but make it very uniform. And then it becomes less about the distributor of Holy Communion and what they're wearing, and more about who it is they are giving to their fellow parishioner in communion. And so the alb helps with that process. So it's a desire for us to return to that. So on August 10th and 11th, we will begin having the Extraordinary Ministers of Holy Communion, the EMHCs, put on an alb before they distribute communion at Sunday Masses. So what does that process look like? Well, I would encourage you before Mass starts to come back and figure out which size is a good length for you. So you'll want it to not go all the way down to the tops of your shoes, but not to be too high up your calf. And so somewhere down there. And so you'll want to find the alb that fits you, and then you can take it off of this rack and put it onto this rack here, so that you don't have to then find it again when it's time to get ready to distribute communion. I'd encourage you to, when you're thinking about what you're going to wear, to try to avoid something maybe that's got stripes or a big print design on it, just because if the alb is thin enough, sometimes that can show through. And so it's best to have some solid colors so that it's not as noticeable. When it comes time for the Our Father, that's when you will come back here and put on your alb. Now, we had been asking over the last few years that the Eucharistic ministers would wash their hands with soap and water before they go out to distribute communion. You are still free to do that, but we're not requiring that anymore, because we are going to ask that once you put on your alb, that you would then use hand sanitizer before going out to distribute communion. You'll all go out at the same time, just as you normally do, and distribution of communion will be the same as it has always been. But then after communion is over and you bring the vessels back to the priest's sacristy, you'll come back here and place your alb back on the rack with the rest of them. Now, be assured that we will be washing these regularly. And if it's on your heart to help do that, please let one of the deacons know that you would like to be in the rotation of those who help to wash our albs here. Want to thank the quilters who spent a lot of time making sure that these albs work well again, that the Velcro is working, and so if that was a problem in the past, it won't be now. Now, if you desire to have your own alb, maybe you don't feel comfortable wearing an alb that a bunch of other people might be wearing in between washings, you would be free to buy an alb that you would use. We would just ask that you coordinate with the deacons doing that so that you get an alb that matches the rest of them so that there's uniformity. And if you are a little nervous about going up and down stairs, keep that in mind when you choose a length. But if that's still a concern for you, please talk to one of the deacons, because we want everyone to be safe as they're distributing communion. The last thing I want to say isn't related to Albs, but it's just related to our service in distributing communion. The priests and the deacons are called ordinary ministers of Holy Communion, but the rest of us are extraordinary ministers of Holy Communion. Part of that means that only ordinary ministers should be giving a blessing during Mass. Only priests and deacons should bless people during Mass. And so when someone comes up who's a child, or they've crossed their arms to not receive communion, it's not proper for us as extraordinary ministers to give them a blessing. So please don't do that. Instead, you can just say to them, may you receive Jesus in your heart. That way it's uniform for everyone, and we're not doing something that really isn't liturgically proper to us. Again, I want to thank you for your ministry here at St. Joseph and for being willing to be flexible with these changes. When we had Albs for our EMHCs, I would have people mention that all the time, like the beauty and the consistency that brings. And so we're excited to bring that back so that our distribution of communion can be more and more focused on the one that we are receiving. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and God bless.